Hey everybody, this is ACD Combatives, your channel for control tactics, martial arts, combatives for law enforcement. I am Coach Kurt. I built this channel specifically for that purpose, to talk about and focus on control tactics, combatives, martial arts specifically for cops, and the use of force and case law that goes along with it. I've been a cop since 1997. I'm a control tactics instructor, a use of force instructor, a field training officer, and I teach taser, baton, and pepper spray as well. I've been a lifelong martial artist, and I think that I'm uniquely qualified to talk about and look at this objectively. Any program that you are going to design for police as it relates to martial arts, and that's what this video is about. It's about developing a martial arts program for police. Maybe you're a control tactics instructor and you're building a new program for your department, or maybe you're a civilian instructor who teaches martial arts and you're beginning to get cops into your school. You see this a lot in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And you are trying to, I'm going to build a side class just for cops. What should I focus on? Well, it's kind of an open-ended question, and that's what we're going to talk about here. First of all, if you're watching my channel, you know I'm putting out a program, BJJ for Cops. A friend of mine, Coach Doug, did a series of basic jiu-jitsu for cops a couple years back before he retired, and I cleaned them up and threw them on my channel, or I am throwing them on my channel. If I remember right, there's 16 lessons. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is obviously a good base for police work, but it has its limitations. If you are doing a martial arts program, and you know that I train and teach Taiho-Jutsu, which literally translates to arresting arts, arresting system. It is a subset of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. And if you watch my channel, you know I cross-train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I have some bias towards that. I also have a background in mixed martial arts, Krav Maga, Kaiji Kembo, and I'm a black belt at 5th Dan in Hapkido, as well as a black belt in Taiho-Jutsu. So obviously I've got my bias. And I train and practice modern police concepts method of Taiho-Jutsu, which is very modern spin-off of Taiho-Jutsu. And this video isn't about what I know, it's about what you can add to your program. Otherwise, I'd say, hey, go learn Taiho-Jutsu. But maybe you don't have access to a Taiho-Jutsu program or curriculum. You can find a Taiho-Jutsu curriculum at the United States Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and I would recommend that. But this is about how you would add program to your syllabus or your school. And that's what you need to do. You need to find a modern program that focuses on techniques that will be usable on the street. What does that mean? It needs to match case law. Graham v. Connor. Is it objectively reasonable? So to start with closing the distance, because if you are a cop or in self-defense, it doesn't really matter, but if you are a cop, you know that there are two safe ranges: completely out of the fight or all the way in. That closing the distance, going through the striking range, is very dangerous. They call it the striker's lucky punch, or a lucky hit. You only have to be lucky once if you're a striker. You could be a much better striker than your opponent, but he gets you with a sucker punch, or he gets a lucky punch in, and you're done. So you need to cover up and be able to close that distance effectively, using some of your own strikes objectively, in an objective, reasonable way, to close that distance as far as a temiwaza is concerned, and using it to off balance, i.e. kazushi. And then you get into the clinch range. If you watch my channel, you know that I am huge on the clinch range. One of the problems with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu straight up schools, and this is just generically speaking, but generically speaking, most Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools in America are very sport oriented, and they focus heavily on the ground. A lot of guard pulling, a lot of butt scooting, and getting the person to the mat isn't necessarily a priority. And if they do, they use freestyle wrestling is a very popular addition to jiu-jitsu for tournaments, because it gets the person to the mat, but not necessarily great for the street. You don't want to be clashing down on your knees heavily, taking people to the ground. So closing the distance, getting into that clinch range, being able to swim for those double underhooks, or even a strong overhook like a whizzer, what have you, it doesn't matter. And you're going for that body fold takedown, hip bump takedown. I'm a big believer in what I call ethical takedowns. They need to be objectively reasonable. It's not that I don't practice the big hip throws and shoulder throws. I do. If you watch my channel, you've seen them on the channel. But you need to be able to turn that juice on if you need to, but it shouldn't be your primary focus. Again, you need to be reasonable in your force. So taking people to the ground for handcuffing should be just that, getting them to the ground, putting them in a position of disadvantage, having positional control, and then when you are ready, never be in a rush, position before submission, you're going for handcuffing. Okay, so all that is super important, but not everything is that type of situation where you're fighting a combative opponent, you're defending yourself, taking them to the ground. Maybe they are resisting you, but they're doing it in a minimal way. They're trying to pull away. They're trying to get you off of them so they can run, and you need to be able to control them in that environment as well. If you watch my channel, you've seen that I've done videos on that, in how to clinch up, how to, do arm passes to get to the back and hold control of them. And then there's the whole idea that maybe you're just doing a guided touch, maybe you're just controlling them to escort them out of a building, maybe it's a temporary pain compliance technique. These are techniques that you're used to seeing like in Hapkido, Aikido, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, your wrist locks, your shoulder locks, and control holds, that sort of thing. Techniques that fit that description are also important to have in your program. Now, if you're a control tactics instructor, or more importantly, a use of force instructor, then you're going to also be able to build into your program, using force, objectively using force, in what context, and so forth. If you're a civilian instructor, don't even try to play that game. You're there to teach them the physical stuff, and then it's up to that individual officer to interpret what you are teaching them and how to translate that for the street, and how to de-escalate, and so forth. So what else? Well, your program needs to involve your taser, your baton, your pepper spray, and these are all things you're probably not going to be able to get at a civilian school. You're going to have to get them in context with your department or academy or what have you. So if you're a civilian instructor, I wouldn't even worry about that kind of stuff. The officer is going to have access to that stuff on their own. Firearms is also very important, and I do consider firearms a martial art all in and of itself, but that is definitely not part of a control tactics program. That is its own separate entity, and that's something you don't need to worry about. There are Krav Maga schools that get into that and go down that rabbit hole. But I think we've covered everything here. In a nutshell, you have your arrest and control techniques, and then you have more of your self-defense and combative techniques where somebody's actively fighting you and you need to close that distance, take control, and take them to the ground, have positional control, hold that positional control with a position of advantage, and then handcuffing. And all that also incorporates some basic striking techniques and so forth. So I hope this was kind of helpful, or at least interesting if it's not even anything you're interested in, but maybe it was just something that you thought, hey, I'm going to see what this video is all about. I hope that I covered things that you were interested in. Please like, subscribe, and share, and let me know what you think and what you want on the channel. Everybody take care and stay safe.
Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out.